So I've asked therapist Sherry Gaba, who specializes in addiction and trauma, to help Janice process the overwhelming events of the day.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, Janice. When you're in these kind of situations where you get hurt, do you go, is this how you usually?
No.
So this is unusual for you to go to somebody else and talk about that person that's hurt you?
It's just really hard for me here detoxing off the benzos. It just is.
It's a very rigorous program.
Psychotherapist Sherry Gaba is a former resident in training at the Legendary Center. And Betty Ford is a stark difference from Lindsay's previous rehab stints.
She probably will have a roommate. She's going to be treated like every other client. If she was going to one of these higher end type places, she could request her own room. Unfortunately, those yes people are keeping the family and the friends away, and sometimes it can be a disservice for the addict because they don't have the support they need. I mean, let's look at Britney Spears. She really didn't have that support until now. Celebrities really, addiction is the same. It's a disease, you know. I think there's a little more scrutinizing with celebrities. You have to be more concerned with the public and how they feel about you and what they think of you. You've got paparazzi always around you.
You know, sort of a tipping point.
Well, that gets to my next question about celebrities. You ended up being sort of a celebrity chemical dependency counselor, then celebrity rehab was incubated. You know, why is it we're so fascinated with, you know, celebrities in the media in terms of celebrities that have died, overdoses, and yet here we have more people dying today of opiate addiction than car accidents, than gun deaths, than HIV in its, you know, prime. Why are we still just so obsessed with just the celebrities and not, and I mean, I think it's changing.
Our culture's obsessed with celebrities, so it's a strange thing.
Sherry Gaba in the audience here, psychologist. You are a huge inspiration to me, a great friend of the show.
I have to say that this really is a family disease. It's not about Jameson alone. It's not about you. It's all of you together. I heard a few things today. Someone said I think you said he can't stop. That's a hallmark of addiction. Is that true? Once you start, you can't stop? Right. So that's alcoholism, okay? Nothing to be ashamed of. It's a disease. A lot of people don't realize it's a disease. Your brother said you allow it to happen. You can't allow it. You're powerless over his disease. His disease is greater than you and everybody else. There are huge consequences here. You're choking her. You're forgetting what you're doing because you're having what we call a blackout. A blackout is alcoholic drinking. And I have a feeling you're drinking for other issues other than your wife. Have you ever gotten help? There's amazing help out there for you. You can have an amazing life. That's how you're going to fix things. To work on boundaries. I know your sister loves you. You love your sister. She wants to protect you, but she needs to stay on her side of the street. You need to stay on your side of the street. And guess what? There's help out for you too. There's all kinds of programs out there that'll help support you.
Sherry, how have you processed this? You and I spoke a few days ago. Here we are now, almost a week later. What have been your thoughts as you look back at what happened?
Process is a really good word. You know, it is just painful. It's painful to see, you know, somebody that had so much to live for, someone who had so much talent, someone who had 2 young children. And just it puts such a light on mental illness and the stigma that still exists around mental illness, and the fact that addiction, the way people still don't understand that addiction can be fatal.
Sherry, I want to start with you. When you worked with Mindy off camera, did she seem to be making progress with you?
Of course she did. She was on the show on Celebrity Rehab. She was open to being on the show. She was wanting to be on the show. Someone that goes on a show like that absolutely was doing really well.
When he says he can curb it, that's really an unusual statement in recovery, because in recovery it usually means abstinence. And one of the issues is that you need long-term recovery. You need sober living. And so I think it's great that he's in a rehab right now, but what he really needs is long-term recovery. That's what really is going to work for him. And the way he lives his lifestyle, there's going to be a lot of yes people that are going to continue to give him, or are going to say yes to him in terms of the alcohol. It's just around him everywhere. He needs to be around sober people in a sober community, like a place that I consult, like Sober Malibu. He needs to be around other people of fellowship. I didn't see a lot of emotional sobriety in the interview. He was, he was blaming Chris for the questions instead of really taking responsibility. You know, drinking is just part of it. It's also looking at the consequences and the wreckage of your behavior underneath the drinking. Drinking is just the symptom. And so I did see, I would agree with you completely, a lot of shades of denial there.
Is it possible to die by giving up alcohol, by going cold turkey?
Well, with alcohol abuse, it's the most difficult one to actually withdraw from. Let's say you're a heroin addict, you might get really sick, but when it comes to alcohol abuse, and if you've been drinking as heavily as she might have been, absolutely, she was very small, her organs could have shut down, her kidneys, her lungs, her heart. It's very sad. She was trying to get sober, but unfortunately her little body could not handle the shock to her nervous system. So yes, absolutely. Going cold turkey is very dangerous, and that's why we have, you know, such as a place like Soba and Malibu. Those are the kind of places where she would be watched. There would be medical supervision, and they could make sure that those things don't happen.
Do you see that often, that kind of relapse? You know, what I'm seeing is just so often there's so much despair and hopelessness and embarrassment, and so I'm not sure that he, you know, was able to reach out to his community. Maybe he was, you know, he entered work too quickly and just did not know how to get the help that he needed. We see it all the time, unfortunately.
Eden, you are so many things. You're a celebrity, you're the daughter of an icon, you're a Pilates studio owner, and you probably do many other things that you're going to tell me all about. Why take the time today to do an interview about recovery?
Well, you said you're a celebrity, and that word to me is a very touchy word, because I think that, considering how I was raised with the man I was raised by, celebrities, or if you have a platform with a certain amount of people that really watch and want to learn from you,
You're
it's
like
a
tribe.
responsibility. Exactly, your tribe, my new tattoo.
Yeah.
It's a responsibility and an honor to be in that position. And if I don't use that, then I feel like I'm just taking up wasted space, you know?
You've been talking on USA Today, you did a TED Talks, I saw you on Oprah. Why the passion? Because the passion is so clear when you talk about recovery.
I think the passion comes from just facing the stigma from the gate. I remember when I did my earliest interviews, I was so excited because even though I was going through this mass humiliation, I had discovered something about myself that I didn't know existed, and I knew that there were a lot of people out there that were just like me.
Well, right, it's the disease that you go into denial. So
Yes.
It's really easy to point the finger at, you know, Miss USA
Yeah.
and not look at your own issue.
For sure.
Correct.
And I was definitely one of those people before. You know, people would come up to me and be like, you know, maybe there's a little problem here. And I'd be like, well, we all have problems, you know, but for me, the addict or the alcoholic or the guy that was struggling with mental illness was the homeless person that lived on Skid Row, or, you know, the people that lived in the trailer park on Breckenridge. Like, it was, I'm from Kentucky, so we have ridges. But I never knew that it could be Miss USA or a doctor or a principal or a politician or any of that.
I so appreciate your transparency, Tara. I mean,
Thank you.
really telling us the truth. That's what we really need to hear.